Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Talene van der Merwe, the Hub Head for South African Tourism here in the UK. I have a bit of a WTM voice, so please excuse me. Just to start, welcome to the WTM Introverse Presents Diversify or Die. As those of you who were here earlier, you know we're using the Slido app to use for any questions that you might have at the Q&A afterwards. So experts and social media commentators are saying that 2018 will mark the real rise of influencer marketing, with tourist boards and travel brands, big and small, enlisting the help of prominent influencers to help organize, strategize and promote their destinations and products more effectively to consumers. And with studies reporting that influencers can yield a 960% return on investment for a destination, it is perhaps safe to say that the influencer marketing is definitely here to stay. And we at South African Tourism are very much aware of this. But despite this exciting growth of the influencer in travel and tourism industry, we're still at a point where diversity is needed for tourist boards and travel brands in their marketing. And that is because of the abundance of content and messaging that assails the average consumer every minute of the day through a myriad of social channels. And with the main content of YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Snapchat being through handheld devices like mobile phones and tablets, there is a real challenge that faces the influencer today. The average person, they say, now touches, swipes, and taps their mobile phone 2,617 times a day. It's quite scary. This means that everyone is now distracted, and we are distracted all the time. Add to this the views of behavioral scientists who are increasingly telling us that to combat the growth in messages a consumer's brain receives every minute of the day, the human brain filters out as much as 95%. This filtering, which is called habituation by marketers, is the real challenge for a digital influencer. How do you get your content, your message, through the filters and noise of the marketplace to resonate with the target audience that matters to the tourist board and the destination? And that is what tourist boards will be asking. That is what we will be measuring in 2018. With social media and digital advertising reaching a global scale, the need to diversify in how you use your social media platforms is absolutely vital. It is no longer enough to just be a YouTube content producer or to major all one's efforts on just your Instagram or your Snapchat. Today, for example, we are increasingly seeing that people want to live in the now, to experience life, what it is you are expecting while on a safari, at the top of Table Mountain, or even in the Blyder River Canyon. Today, Facebook Live or Periscope are as much a part of the strategy of influencing, allowing target audiences to join you, the influencer, in the very moment that you're experiencing something amazing. They want to see context to your experience through Instagram and Snapchat stories. They want to live the experience with you. They want what marketers call the holistic view, with many channels telling the story rather than one, so that whatever their attention and focus is on, whatever channel or medium, there is always a story. So the digital influencer who wants to be at the crest of the wave of rising digital influence in 2018 must be able to diversify their strategy, their channels, content, and messages, if they don't want to simply cut through and resonate with the consumer. And that is why we at South Africa Tourist Board were so keen to be part of today's session of Diversify or Die. It is our fervent belief, it is our experience that tells us that the need in 2018 and beyond will be for digital influencers to diversify their content and their channels. For the digital influencers that do diversify, the rewards would be reaped, and they will be big. South African Tourism looks forward to working with you in 2018 and welcoming you to our wonderful destination and to help us tell the story to our consumer. We have two influencers with us today. We've got Maka Sharifi, from travel blogger and a vlogger, and he's from An Adventurous World. And we've got Barry Johnson from Gosh PR, and I will hand it over to them.
Hi guys, I love how aggressive this title is. It's like diversify or die. Look at it more as diversify and survive. one of the reasons why I've been chosen to talk to you today is I'm a travel blogger. I'm also a presenter, though. I'm a photographer. I'm a videographer. There are so many things that I do in my day-to-day life, in my professional career, that adds to what I do. And I'm going to talk to you today about why it's important to try and add a few feathers to your bow as well. I think a really important question to think about right now is what would happen if your biggest channel went bust? It could happen, you know. It doesn't matter if you've got 200,000 followers on Instagram or 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. If they go bust, you know, what's your professional career going to look like? Like, how do you survive that? It's easy to say, it's not going to happen to me. It happened to professional Viners. You know, they built a career out of, you know, posting 6-second videos. All of a sudden, their business model was gone overnight. I adore Twitter. It's great. I mean, in the 5 or 6 years that I've been playing around on it, I've sent 9,000 tweets, which I know is just a fraction to what a lot of influencers have posted here. But Twitter's losing subscribers. It's shedding money. You know, it could be a channel that goes overnight. So, you know, you've got to think about if you're just concentrating on one channel and that goes, what happens to you? I think there's a lot of ways as a blogger that we can diversify. A lot of these are going to be fairly simple. You know, it's important to, like, when you write a blog post, look at how you can sell that into other articles, other publications. You know, are you doing videos? If you're not, like, could you be learning a new skill? What about podcasts? You know, you've got the kit. You could be doing that from your bedroom. You know, there are weekly newsletters. There are competitions. There are so many different things that we could all be doing here. I mean, for one, like, there are so many social media platforms that kind of spring up overnight. What's going to be the next big thing? Twitch. It's something that I know hardly anything about. And yet gamers make really good livings off this because they stream live playing football games from their bedrooms, and they get paid for that. You know, I know people who work at Twitch, and they're saying, actually, this is something that, you know, you as a travel blogger could potentially make money from. So I think it's important to look at what's out there, what you could be doing to kind of diversify your outreach. I don't really want to stand up here and try and be this, like, you know, professional travel blogger. It seems very unattainable. This is my 5th WTM. I remember being here 5 years ago in this very talk, kind of being like, I'm never going to get there, like, I'm never going to make it. I think here are some, like, very simple ways that as bloggers, as influencers, we could all be doing right now to, you know, take your blog to the next level. The first of all is amplify your content. This seems really basic, but you'll be surprised at how, you know, how people just don't do this. So, like, you've just written a blog post, you know, talk about the coffee shop that you've been to, talk about, you know, you're talking about the restaurant that you've just had dinner at. Contact these places. Hey, I've just been to your amazing coffee shop. I love how independent it is. Would you mind sharing my article? You know, find out what city you're in. You know, post on kind of other, like, little meetup groups. Kind of just get other people to share your content. There are a lot of community schemes out there. There are so many different Facebook groups that you can be looking at what's being posted. One of my favorites is DNW, How to Make Money from Blogging. It's a fantastic community of people talking about SEO, they're talking about strategy, they're talking about ways to make money, which is what we all want to do, and everyone is buying into it together. Another thing that you should be doing as a new blogger or someone who's just starting out is look at creating your own community. You know, as I said, like, I was here 5 years ago. The people who I'm friends with are people who are also here 5 years ago. We all have been uplifted together, you know. We've all kind of grown the ladder together. So they're the ones that I recommend for projects. You know, when a client comes to me and says, can you do this? And I can't. I recommend my friends because they're in my community. I think people who say that, you know, they're already, like, fantastic photographers, videographers, you can always improve. I can always improve. I'm always looking at ways to improve my videos. Get on YouTube, you know, start watching videos on how to better your content. Another way is to repurpose your content. This is like if you've just written a guide to Mauritius, look at other ways that you can kind of promote that, whether that's doing a video about that, whether it's doing a podcast on the top 10 things to do in Mauritius. There are different ways that you can already use the content that you're an expert on different platforms. Pay to play. Unfortunately, it is about the money these days. We all know that Facebook have just recently played with their algorithm on how they're going to basically bury all publisher newsfeed, unless if you're paying for it. So yeah, that's something that we're all going to have to start doing a lot more. Thankfully, I'm still happy to say that up here, 5 years down the line, content is still king. I'm going to put my hand up. I probably shouldn't admit this in front of a huge audience. I am not the biggest influencer here. I don't have hundreds of thousands of followers on all of my social media channels. What I do is I produce damn good content. If it was just about brands who want to work with the biggest people, then I wouldn't have a job. Thankfully, with my clients, they do want to work with people who produce good content. So even if you don't have the biggest following, I don't want you to be scared that you're never going to make it. If you produce fantastic quality content that no one else can do, then you're going to get career, you're going to get work out of that. I think it's important to think about how I've diversified as a blogger. You need to adapt to survive. When I started out, so I'm actually a trained journalist. I went traveling, spent 2 years traveling, kind of grew the hair, drank a lot of beers on the beach, the typical, gap year route. And I kind of thought, what do I want to do with my life? I really thought about what was my career. And then I decided that I wanted to be in travel forever, that was my future life. So I decided to become a journalist. I'm a trained travel journalist. So for me, it was all about telling a story. That's the deepest passion that I have, is promoting travel to people. Is it the best platform? Is it the best medium to tell these stories? I always think there are so many things that you can be doing to make this story better. For me, that was video. 3 years ago, I wouldn't have known how to cut a video together at all. I was very scared of presenting. I didn't really like being in front of a camera, and yet I felt that this was a huge weakness of mine that I wanted to turn it into a strength, I wanted to do video. So yeah, I think it's very important to offer something that no one else can and to evolve with the times. This kind of gets asked a lot, especially after a few beers in the pub with your mates, and they're like, how do you make money as a blogger? I got a really nice quote here, which I kind of posted in a Facebook group, and they said, it's hard to make a living as an influencer with just one revenue stream, and that is so true. Do I make money as a blogger? Yeah, I do, for sure. Is it enough to live off? No, it's not. I have so many other ways that I make money as a blogger. This is sponsored campaigns with clients creating articles, photos, and videos on my blog, An Adventurous World, or whether it's on their blogs. I'll be selling them photos, I'll be selling them videos. It's doing videography work, it's doing stock photography and time lapses. Is this the best, time lapse I've ever done? No, it's kind of a bit shitty, to be honest with you. But you know what? You can sell that. Every time that you go on a trip and you're creating content, you can sell that on stock photography websites. There are so many ways that you can add these little revenue streams, which do add up over time. If you make £50 from advertising, you sell an ebook for £50 per month. It all adds up, and all of a sudden, you should be in this position where you can make money as a blogger and survive. I think this is really good for bloggers to start doing. Don't just think of the one-off project, the one-off payment that you're getting. Think of creating packages and going the extra mile. So your client wants you to do a blog post and social media before, during, and after the trip. Yeah, that's cool. That's what most bloggers do. But, look at offering more, thinking about how you can upsell and, create a lot more content out of that. Maybe that's, posting 2 blog posts. For me, I always try and give clients what they want, which is kind of photos and videos that they can use on their channels, whether that's on social, whether that's in marketing. Try and create a 6-month campaign. If there are these clients that you enjoy working with, don't just do it once, then move on to the next, client. Think about doing something for 6 months, constantly promote the client over time. One of my main clients is Lonely Planet. For them, I can do presenting videos, I create videos, articles, pictures, the whole works. This is just a little example of Iceland. My name is Maka, I'm an adventure travel blogger. I've been on adventures all around the world. I've done bungee jumping in Vancouver, I've gone ziplining through the cloud forest in Costa Rica. Right now I'm in Reykjavik, the adventure capital of the world, a place that I absolutely love. Got incredible architecture, it's got a really thriving street art scene. I love the fact that you can come here and in the morning you could be wandering the streets and then in the afternoon you could be on a glacier going ice climbing. Not many places around the world where you can do that. When it comes to the great outdoors, to epic scenery, Iceland is without a doubt one of the most beautiful places in the world for it. It's just, wherever you go, wherever you look, you're just astounded by what you're seeing. It's an incredibly stunning place, and I can't wait to get into the outdoors. A couple of years ago, I wouldn't have been able to do that. This is the deputy editor at Lonely Planet Online. Have a quick read of that. Lonely Planet have their Pathfinders scheme. This is open to all bloggers and influencers, whatever level you're at. And essentially, Lonely Planet are looking for the best content. They can't have a million writers on the ground creating this stuff, so they're turning to us as influencers to find it for them. Sign up to the scheme. They'll do monthly roundups on the best Instagram photos, the best videos, the best written blogs. Start submitting your content to them. If it's good enough, they will notice it. The thing about Lonely Planet is they want to separate themselves in choosing the best content out there. So, if you're going hiking in the Gobi Desert, which is something that not everyone can do, that's the type of content that they want to see. I know a few bloggers who have kind of said, we're not too sure about working with Lonely Planet. It feels unattainable that we're not going to be selected. I promise you, as Emma says here, if you are good enough, and you have, a little bit of diversity, then yeah, you'll be picked. And then all of a sudden, hopefully it could be you in Iceland. Another good example of what brands are doing is KLM. This year, KLM worked on a huge influencer trip with 14 influencers called the KLM Top 10. And essentially, this was uncovering some of KLM's top destinations that they like flying to. This campaign has hit like 1.5 million views. The two videos that I created for KLM hit over 800,000. We're talking about really big numbers here. And what KLM are looking for, again, is that personal touch. They want to be working with people who've got stories to tell, and they really want that personality to shine across. And with KLM now, they're also trying to use influencers to influence their customers. So they've created their own social hub, where they're using all blogger content, whether that's tweets, whether that's photos, whether that's videos, for potential customers to see. And when they can see Aruba, they'll be like, this looks amazing. This girl's having the most amazing time in Aruba. I now want to book that. I now want to fly with KLM. I really think this is a good point. I know how many of you in this audience will kind of want to have specific brands in mind that you want to work with. For me, that was Manfrotto. For those of you who don't know, Manfrotto are a camera accessory company. They do tripods, they do camera bags. I love photography. It's one of my favorite things. And I approached Manfrotto being like, hi guys, I really like your stuff. Can we work together? Didn't really hear anything back, no surprise. So I thought, well, okay, I'm going to write an article for them. So I wrote an article on top 10 photography tips for travelers. I sent it over to them and said, hi guys, I've just written you an article. Here are the photos, have it for free. And they're like, wow, this is a pretty cool article. We just got a free article here. Thanks very much. Posted it. And it opened up this conversation. It opened up this opportunity to work with this company. They were a perfect fit for me. I love working with these guys. If you're into fashion, think about, independent fashion labels that you could be contacting, how, you could be working together to promote them in your photos and videos. I think it sounds kind of cliched. It sounds very simple, just, send them an email, find out the contact. It worked for me, and I'm sure it will work for you as well. So it's nice having that little bit of diversification for me, These are articles that I write for Manfrotto. I do one per month, which means that it has nothing to do with an adventurous world or anything like that. So yeah, it's just another way of adding to your revenue stream. I also do some work with the Telegraph. This is just kind of videography work. Again, this is something that I really wanted to practice. I really wanted to get good at videography, and then all of a sudden, the Telegraph are now wanting to use influencers to create content. They've got their own video editors who are at their desk every single day editing video. What they don't have is influencers and people going out there to create this stuff. So, it's really nice that if you are able to offer these little bits of extra, they will start using you. I just saw a couple of people laugh in the audience because they're actually those two people there. For people who want to know, that's Chloe, my girlfriend. I just can humiliate her in front of a lot of people. Anyway, content marketing. It's all in the name, people. So it doesn't matter if you're a blogger, an influencer, an Instagrammer, a YouTuber. It's all kind of the same thing. It's all just content marketing. I think if you don't start diversifying, if you don't start offering a holistic approach to your clients in the content that you're creating, then your clients will look for people who can. I was actually speaking to a journalist last night, and she was saying how she's becoming worried that offering an article is not enough anymore. Personally, I don't think it is. I think, everyone should be looking at offering articles, photos, if they can do videos, and everything else in between, brilliant. Of course, the client is going to want to get as much as they possibly can for their money. What's the future of influence marketing? This is always a gray area. I always feel like at WTM every year we talk about what is the future. For me, I think it's going to become a lot more professional in the way that everything's delivered. I think clients are going to want more analytics. I think they're going to want to see more sales-generated campaigns. I love promoting particular products. I love promoting my clients, but I want to actually show them the worth of that. I'm an influencer. I have to prove my influence. I think, saying to a client, oh, I sent you 100,000 likes over, 10 photos on Instagram, it's great. It can sell a destination, but how do you prove that? I think people are going to want to start wanting to see a bit more. I think there's going to be more professional bodies. I know that there's iAmbassador, there's Captivate. I think there's this opportunity for people to start working together. Okay, you're an amazing YouTuber. Let's partner you with an amazing Instagrammer, and we're going to also add a writer on there. You're going to start creating these campaigns where, people are going to specialize in their particular areas, but they can still diversify and offer this holistic approach. Anyway, I love talking about the future of influencer marketing. So if anyone wants to kind of find me afterwards and talk about it, I would love to hear that. Old photo here, me on the Great Wall of China with some woman. I think it's really important to think about who owns your content. You should. For me, I still think blogging is the most important platform. I adore blogging. And I think it's important to kind of note that when you're posting photos on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook, do you own that content? You kind of do and you kind of don't. If YouTube decided to delete its whole platform, then all of a sudden you've lost all your videos. So I think it's important to kind of think about where your content's going and what you're focusing on. We all know organic reach is dropping. It's becoming harder and harder to be seen, not only on Facebook, on Instagram. Twitter is not as engaged as it once was. I think look at the blog, look at what you can be doing to improve that as much as you can. And I think it's going to come full circle again. I think blogging is still number one. Also, for a lot of new influencers and bloggers in here, be patient. Al Pacino once said that overnight success was 10 years in the making. And it's so true. I know Joe was talking about it in the last session. It takes time to do this life. I always think if you can survive in the freelance world for a couple of years, then you'll be able to make a career of it. So if you just be patient, Rome wasn't built in a day. Thank you all for listening. I am a complete open door when it comes to talking. As you can probably tell, I quite like the sound of my own voice. So if anyone wants to ask me absolutely anything, please drop me an email. You can ask me on Twitter. Come up afterwards. We'll have a little chat about a few things. Also, I know that there are a lot of kind of brands and clients in here. Really important to note that there's a Digital Speed networking event tomorrow at 9:30. There are so many amazing influencers going to that. And it doesn't matter if you're a small brand looking to work with small influencers or some of the world's biggest brands looking to work with some of the world's biggest influencers. They'll all be in one room. So I really recommend going to that. I'm now going to introduce you to Barry, who works at Gosh PR. I think he is going to talk about how you should work with influencers from a brand perspective. So thank you all very much, and enjoy your WTM.
Unlike Maka, I'm going to use the podium if that's right. Public speaking isn't my forte, but I'm going to wing this anyway. So just a bit of an introduction. I work for Gosh PR. Gosh PR is a full-service travel specialist based in central London, providing public relations and marketing communication services to the travel and tourism sectors in the UK and Ireland. Our client base includes a selection of well-known destination and commercial travel brands for whom we develop and implement integrated and multi-channel campaigns. We lead the way in digital PR as we layer online communications through influencer outreach, social, and earned coverage in digital media brands. We also manage the social and engagement for big brands. We have strong relationships with a wide variety of influencers built on running successful campaigns. We're easy to work with, and for that reason, we work with some influencers on a regular basis across various client campaigns. So just a little bit about myself and why I presume I've been asked to join this panel today. I too have a background in journalism like Maka does, and I hold the role of social and content manager at Gosh PR. I oversee the digital strategy, content production, UK social media channels, and coordination of media and influencer outreach across Gosh PR's client accounts. The rest of our beautiful team at Gosh. So our client base includes a selection of well-known destinations and commercial travel brands, which includes Visit Florida, Sarasota, Bradenton Area CVB, Panama City Beach, Hertz US Outbound, as well as Hertz UK, Bermuda Tourism Authority, and Seaside Hotels in the Canary Islands. And today I'd like to share some of our thoughts and learnings from working with influencers with you. So how do our clients work with influencers? We've been working with influencers for almost 5 years, creating multi-channel communication campaigns for our clients. There's no denying that the way consumers interact with brands has changed considerably in recent times, mainly due to the changing landscape of social media, and we've helped our clients develop in that area. This has resulted in a change in the way we work for our clients. Gone are the days when traditional print media coverage, as valuable as that is, was the main objective. Multi-channel campaigns, which include all of these elements, are now the favored route for a richer return on investment. Things like video content. I can't express enough how important video content is, and not just for your channels, brands want to be able to share that content on their channels too. Media partner content. So working with a media partner for them to be able to share your content on their channels. Brand partner content, producing content that the brands can use on their channels. Social, blog content, images, all equally as important. Influencers that we've worked with recently include the likes of Joe Allen, who was on the panel earlier, Maka from An Adventurous World, Kim Leuenberger up in the front row, amongst many others. Working with influencers who have the ability to create varied content allows our client brands to harness their creativity and the audience of those influencers with authentic and credible content that will convey our brand's messages to their audience without appearing salesy. From micro-influencers, those with a following of under 30,000, to celebrities, these are some of the factors we take into consideration when looking to work with influencers. Your demographic, who exactly you appeal to, the size of your following, as well as your engagement levels, style, consistency, and authenticity of the content you produce, multi-channel approach for varied content, synergy with our brand messaging, your attitude, your amenability, your enthusiasm, and your professionalism, and the quantity of content you're prepared to produce and the timescales for delivering this content. When I first joined Gosh PR, back in 2015, the first group press trip I hosted was a 50-50 split between traditional media and influencers. Since then, Visit Florida has worked with both traditional media and influencers on press trips and on 2 London takeover campaigns exclusively with influencers. 2016's London takeover campaign saw Visit Florida recruit 2 influencers, namely Joe Allen and Vicky Flip-Flop. Joe for his fantastic video making abilities, and Vicky for her rich blog content. Together, Joe and Vicky traveled around Florida with the help of Hertz car rental, visiting all participating local Florida destination partners, producing social along the way as they traveled, as well as collecting content to produce video, blog, and social content to be played out during the London takeover. Although Joe was selected for his YouTube presence, he also produced blog content and provided fantastic images to promote the campaign within his deliverables. This year's London Takeover campaign saw Visit Florida undertake a varied influencer campaign whereby each of the 11 participating local Florida destination partners had exclusivity on an influencer based on their destination's own objectives and preferred main channel of communication, be that YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or their blog. Gosh PR was tasked with shortlisting influencers who met each destination's requirements, recruiting the best matched influencers, coordinating their visit, and managing the execution of their agreed deliverables. Wanderlust Chloe is an example of one of the influencers who was recruited for destination Martin County. Chloe produced social while on the trip, as well as collecting vlog, blog, and social content, which was then played out during the London Takeover. Gosh PR approached media partners with this content, which the Metro ran online. The destination partner, Martin County, as well as Hertz, who provide the car hire, both received extensive coverage as a result. A great example of a multi-channel campaign. For lifestyle brand Hertz, Gosh PR provide marketing communication services as well as managing their UK social media channels. This started as basic car hire support on traditional media press trips and quickly evolved into Hertz sponsoring Blogstock in 2014 and 15, where the value of working with the burgeoning blogging and vlogging community was realized at an early stage. Hertz continued to support press trips for traditional media and influencers, mainly in conjunction with tourist boards, which means that there are 2 or more partners which need to be taken into consideration in the deliverables. The key objectives for Hertz now are additional content, like writing blog content for their own blog, images for Hertz usage, specified links, tags on social, Instagram takeovers, etc. An example of a multi-channel influencer campaign which we have worked on recently for Hertz was with Abigail King from Inside the Travel Lab, in conjunction with Louisiana Tourism. This was to promote one of the routes on Hertz's newly launched US road trip planner. Abby explored the route, producing social on Inside the Travel Lab's channels and a series of Facebook Live videos for Lonely Planet along the way. This was followed with a series of blog content on Inside the Travel Lab, played out on social, as well as on Hertz's own blog, and images for Hertz to use on their channels. Another great example of a multi-channel campaign with maximum return on investment for the brand. I'll finish with 5 key learnings from my experience in working with influencers. Have an up-to-date media kit available. I cannot express how difficult and frustrating it is to have to search a site for someone's media kit. If PR asks for it, have it readily available. Be flexible, enthusiastic, and adaptable in your approach. Think of the bigger picture beyond your main channels. Know the brand, put yourself in their shoes, and be consistent and accurate with what you produce. Using the correct brand handles, hashtags, and URLs is a good starting point. Be prepared to report on your campaign performance. If brands know you're reliable, there may very well be other opportunities down the line. Thank you, Traverse and WTM, and thank you all for listening.
Thank you very much, guys. 2 brilliant talks. And it's funny, I saw quite a few people starting to get up and move around 4, so I think the beer's coming out on stands. So we'll got about 15 minutes to go through some questions that have been coming in. If we can get the Slido up, that would be great. As usual, we've had a few which have been emailed and tweeted and texted. So one, I guess for both of you, which is, this has come from an Instagrammer, so I'm guessing they mean in addition to Instagrammer, but which platform would you start working on as a secondary platform to Instagram? So I'm guessing that Instagrammers are usually the ones that are just based on one platform at the moment. Not all of them, obviously, but yeah, if you have a large Instagram following, which would be the second platform you'd start up? So I'm guessing they mean blog or YouTube. Well, that's what I'm going to ask. Sorry, Maka.
Yeah. I would say, like, again, just coming back to blogging, look at creating blog posts about it. Like, if you're an Instagrammer and you're doing a series on London, create content around that. Like, kind of specify which spots you've been to, why you've been there, why you enjoyed that photo. Try and add, like, a little bit more about what an Instagram photo is. You know, you don't have much to talk about in a quick Instagram photo. So give more information. I think, people's audience would really appreciate that. For a social channel, a bit like Joe, I love telling stories on YouTube. I just think the visuals, what you can create is mind-boggling. So yeah, I guess like those are two things.
Cool. Do you have anything that you would add to that, Barry?
I'll second what you say about video content. Video for us is king at the moment.
Cool. I mean, I think, personal opinion, I know I'm not the experts you two guys are, but starting a blog I think can be a lot less daunting than starting a YouTube channel. I think if you've already got some kind of online skills, especially photography, if you're doing Instagram, then it's quite a nice one to move into, to start. And as I said, we are talking about secondary platform, but we love working with people who go across all three. It's one of the reasons we were so happy to have Maka speaking here as well today. So I'm just looking up there. If I could get the slides down here, that'd be brilliant, the Slido. Lots of stuff about contracts and being paid. That's a surprise. So if there's one platform or space to find travel into opportunities, is there a good one to sign up for? I can't believe I got to ask that.
Shall I answer?
Yeah.
No. Traverse Connect.
Thank you.
Yeah, right. There's your plug. Yeah. There's loads of opportunities. There are Trips 100, where they're often posting opportunities there. There are loads of companies. Just Google them is the best thing. Thank you, Google.
Yeah. I mean, as a PR agency, do you use any platforms? I know you occasionally.
We tend to use the likes of yourselves and Captivate, so blogger networks, influencer networks, and we tend to use the same ones on a repeat basis because we can work with them and we can trust them.
Yeah. Cool. Again, as we said before, more than happy to answer that question in a bit more detail at the end. I think all of us will have opinions on it. Just have a look around. There's some. I always advise people kind of to shy away from signing up to the big Instagram marketing platforms. They don't necessarily give you the most credible work, and as a brand, they certainly don't usually pick the best influencers to work with. That's all we're going to say on that because I don't want to get sued. Maka, would you work without a contract?
Yeah, I would work without a contract. I shouldn't work without a contract. I am naive and work on trust. And I like building up rapport and relationships with my clients. And most of the time, I think they're not going to stab me in the back. Is that going to bite me in the ass one day? Yeah, probably. I need to start thinking about having a specific contract that I send out to clients as opposed to vice versa. I think most, influencers here kind of wait for the contracts to come in. I certainly know when clients ask, would you like us to write a contract? Would you like to do it? I always say, I'd prefer you to do it. I think influencers should start thinking about creating their own contracts just to save their bacon.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, I'm guessing as a PR agency, contracts for everyone.
Yeah, it depends on which brand we're working with and what the value of the investment is. For the large investments, definitely we work on a contract, but for smaller scale projects, we do work on a trust basis as well.
Yeah. Cool. Excellent. Thank you. Sorry, one sec. My eyes aren't the best, so I'm struggling to read a little bit, and it's moved. So what should influencers who work with brands be careful about in terms of signing a contract? So,
I would say the biggest fear and the biggest pitfall is who owns that content, that intellectual property. Usually, as a traditional journalist, or a photojournalist, when they're contracted by a publication to go on shoot for them, all photos are owned by the publication. When I film stuff, when I shoot stuff, I want to own all of that because I may want to use my content in different formats, whether that is selling stock photography and stuff like that. I always like to add into my contracts or when I'm working with clients, I like to give them 10 or 20 photos. I've already edited them anyway. There will be secondary or tertiary kind of photos that I know I won't necessarily use on my blog. It's not Instagram worthy, but it may be something that kind of sells something for the client. Give them a little bit extra. But the biggest pitfall is intellectual property. It's very scary.
Yeah. Just adding on, I know we mentioned in the previous section about the how you can add on a bolt on an extra skill that you can do, and we actually worked with Maka earlier on this year, and the way that we could get the project off the ground was because Maka offered some extra photography for them, and it worked out brilliantly. So it's so important if you've got the skills to try and use them. Something just to add on, which I mentioned again in the previous session, is that if you've got any question marks over a contract, ask someone else. There's always people out there who sign them, people who help you look over them. There is some terminology in some of the contracts, even the ones that we get now after doing this for a really long time, that we don't quite get, and I'll ask other people, and I'll say, can you have a quick look? Does this mean what I think it means? Or something like that. So it's worth it. Everyone's able to help each other, so it's good. So a quick question about stock photography, Maka. What are the best stock photography websites that buy travel photos?
I'll be quick on this one. I would say Shutterstock is fantastic because it gives a lot to the user. Pond5 is another one that's really good for time lapses and photos. iStock, 123RF. Again, just Google them. The wonderful thing about most stock sites is you can actually use one photo on 5 sites. So yeah, it's not like you have to specifically give the rights away to only one site. So if you've got time and effort, then you can upload to multiple websites to make multiple revenue streams from them. The thing is, it takes time. If any of you have a little admin person to help out, then that would be amazing. But yeah, I'd say the time's the biggest step back.
Cool, thanks. So Barry, at Gosh PR, do you only look for influencers to yourselves, or do you also work with those or consider those that approach you?
Both ends of that spectrum. We are approached by influencers on a regular basis, but obviously we also look for particular influencers for particular campaigns, so a bit of both, really. Yeah. Cool.
Maka, I should imagine you've done a bit of both as well, right? Going out to brands and agencies and also have them coming to you?
Yeah, for sure. I love cold calling people. It sounds kind of strange, but if you offer something and you're incredibly proud of your work, tell the world, get in contact with these people that you've never met before and say hi there, I'd love to work with you, this is what I've done before, let's go out and have some fun together.
Excellent, thank you. We'll do very quickly, Mark, if you just name one video editing software that you recommend for beginners. We're trying not to make this too much about blogging skills, and we want it to be quite a lot about the importance of diversifying in brand relationships, but obviously if you've got a quick one and people can benefit from it.
Adobe Premiere Pro, CC. Either go online and use lynda.com. It is an online tutorial program which can teach you how to become an editor, or just use YouTube, because there are so many fantastic tutorials on there. I don't think that there should necessarily be beginner programs. I'd say Adobe's the best by far. Use that. It's harder to learn the ropes on, but what you get at the end of it is so much better.
Perfect, thanks. So for Gosh PR, they've asked about Vicky's content being featured on Lonely Planet. I think it was Abby's content on Lonely Planet, but was that pre-agreed? Did you sell it after, or was it done with the influencer direct?
It was done with the influencer because Abby writes for Lonely Planet on a regular basis. She had a relationship with them. It was part of the service she could offer to us and the brand we were working with.
Okay, cool. I mean, again, that's something that's popped up, that as influencers, there's often a good way to run 2 campaigns at a similar time, and as long as you're checking with the brand that is the lead on it, I think quite often it works out really well. I know with the trip we did recently to Menorca in Spain, we had quite a few people who were doing Instagram for fashion brands at the same time, and it was something we said is absolutely fine as long as the coverage we're getting works for us as well. So it's a nice way of doing it. I know that quite a lot of influencers, really big influencers and small influencers, will supplement the budget for a trip that maybe wouldn't pay quite as much as they'd need, or doesn't pay, and they need to find a way of making a living or earning off that trip. Then you can do other work on it, which includes, again, going back to skills like photography, content creation, video. So yeah. So Maka, do you offer or have previous experience in creating social campaign strategies for brands? Is that a job offer? Do you think
it sounds like a job offer. I feel like we should talk afterwards. I almost feel embarrassed kind of saying this. I actually used to be the social media manager at Gosh PR, where Barry works now. So yeah, I do have small world, I know, yeah. I do have previous experience working on the PR side of creating social campaign strategies for brands. I think the best thing, as I've said before, bloggers know each other, bloggers talk to each other. I feel like a lot of us put our heads together and can come up with some amazing campaign strategies for brands. So it's just finding the right people, finding the right fit for you, and yeah, let's talk.
Cool. I like that question here. Which platform would you be most sad about losing if one was to disappear overnight?
Oh
That's good for both of you. I want to hear what the brand
It is good. I would be genuinely sad if I lost YouTube. I think YouTube's obviously very genuine. I'm going to offend a lot of people here. I wouldn't be sad if Instagram went under, because it's just harder to get your stuff seen, and I don't really understand it. So
That's very honest. From a brand point of view, which would, I don't want to say hit you hardest, but which would you most feel in terms of your strategy if it was to disappear?
At this point in time, I'd probably say Instagram.
So the opposite to what Mac is on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say YouTube close second.
Yeah. That's a really good question. I think it's basically saying which one has the most merits. Yeah, personally, like Macarena, I think I'd be kind of the opposite of quite sad if woke up tomorrow with no Instagram, make a lot of our jobs a lot easier. Not that I dislike the platform, actually. So Barry, from a brand point of view, when you're looking at paying influencers, how do you decide when the payment's right, when they're overpriced, or when you're getting a great deal?
I guess it all boils down to what they are expecting on their rate card pricing in relation to what their following is and what exactly they're able to offer. Mm-hmm. We do have a database of influencers that we've worked with and influencers who have approached us with their followings, their prices, their rate card prices. So we know what the good benchmark figure is, and we'll decide on that basis. It obviously depends on what budgets we have for the campaigns as well.
Cool. So again, I'm not seeing too well. So Maka, how do you approach the subject of being paid for your content? So if you're pitching something straight from the start, or do you just slip it in there later when they've been fully sold in the campaign? I know I just said that.
It's a grey area. It's like asking for pocket money from your mum and dad, isn't it? It's kind of quite difficult sometimes. I think if you're offering a professional service, then you should be paid for that. I would not do videos for clients unless I'm getting paid for it. It takes too much of my time, and I think it's an incredibly professional service that deserves to be paid for. I think you should look at what you're offering to your client. If it's just a blog post, which could be 700 words and 10 photos, and it's a very expensive trip in terms of kind of flights and everything else added on top, then you may not be looking to get paid for that. Try and sell in more though. It's always about upsell. I know none of us work in the sales industry here, but that is just sales. It's upselling. So, again, look at doing something with your photos, do another blog post, and just ask the question. I think it's no surprise clients kind of want a lot for free. And so if they're not going to bring up the subject of money and you don't, then the likelihood is it's not going to get brought up and you're not going to get paid for it. If you ask and say, hi there, is there a budget associated to this campaign? And they'll be like, oh yeah, there is actually. Let's talk about it. Then, the question's done. But I think a lot of that comes with experience.
Yeah. And I guess every brand is different with the way that they like to be approached. And what about yourselves in PR?
We get approached outright for what brands we represent, as well as our brands being contacted directly. Tagging brands on social is a good way to get noticed without bombarding them. But there's subtle ways that you can make your presence known and get your voice heard without being too forceful.
Cool. Yeah, I think with generally from my experience with the financial side of it, coming at it from both angles, it's very difficult to have one approach that you think works, because sometimes being just outright and being very professional, saying this is how much I want to get paid for this project, means that people will go, nah, actually we'll look elsewhere. But I would also say it's sometimes worth doing that and going high, because then you can negotiate down a little bit and still get what you think you're worth. So it's always a little bit of a risk. One of the difficult things with money on any kind of sales is the first person to talk about money typically loses that argument, and it's not necessarily about getting the most. If you go in and say you want £1,000 or something, it might be a case of they would have paid $2,000. But if you also go in and say you want that, they can say hell no, and you lose it when you would have done it for half that. So it's difficult. I don't think there's a right answer. So Maka, who are the influencers in your video content, and is there any reason why you chose them?
I mean, this is a stitch-up, isn't it? Whoever asked this question. For the Telegraph one, that was with Aftab. I think he was bored on a Wednesday afternoon, had some time on his hands. And the other person was Chloe, Wonderlust Chloe, my wonderful, beautiful girlfriend, who I film a lot of. Any reason why I picked them, they were available and they look great on camera, I guess, and very easy to work with. Thank you, whoever asked that one.
we've worked with both Aftab and Chloe, and it's always good. So we're running quite a long time, so we'll try and get through 2 more. As I said, with the SEO tips from Luxury Traveller, something I'm sure we'd be happy to chat with you about afterwards, but that's something we could go on for ages, so we'll come and ask us afterwards. From David said, which key advice would you give to a beginner? I don't know which platform that is, so just, let's say a beginner influencer. If you could give 2 bits of advice to them from both of you, what would you say?
From an influencer, I would say write or tell a story with passion and have patience. I think if you're getting into this game thinking that you're going to earn a 6 or 7 figure salary in the first couple of years, you're in it for the completely wrong reasons. I think most of us here have such a passion for telling a story, whether that's in photography, videography, or online in an article. That has to come through, that has to shine through. So my advice would be, write with passion, enjoy it. It's a great ride.
Cool.
And I'd say find your niche, find what you're good at, find something that's going to set you apart from everyone else out there. You know, there's a lot of influencers competing for the same space. Make your presence known.
Yeah. I think niche becomes so incredibly important on Instagram as well now. We were discussing this when we were away recently with a lot of influencers. We were saying about the whole kind of like, almost like ultra niche now. When you look at people like Rich McCaw, who does the Paperboyo account, you know, that's one very, very specific thing that he does, and there's people who take shots just through glass spheres, or they just take photos looking up the side of buildings or from certain rooftops. And for Instagram, I certainly think you need to find a niche. Now, if you don't want to do it what I would call the wrong way of buying followers and trying to go down that route and compete with people taking bikini shots in infinity pools. So we've got, I guess, time for one more. Sorry, I've only got time for one more because my voice is going to be gone completely. Can you think of any ways of finding jobs or clients as an Instagram feed curator and community manager? I don't quite understand the question, so I hope you guys do.
I mean, I'm kind of struggling on that one.
Okay.
Can you think of any ways of finding jobs to clients?
We can come and do that personally afterwards if that person wants to come and ask us.
Look for them?
I don't know.
Yeah,
come and explain a bit more about that afterwards. Cool. Right, last one, and we will do one more. Skills one, Maka, how do you compress images to avoid them slowing down your site?
I usually use Adobe Lightroom. This is going to get quite technical. I love questions like this. I mean, I guess if you're looking at about a 50% compression rate, you kind of want your photos to be between maybe 1 to 300 kilobytes per photo. They say that if your page load speed of the article or blog you're creating is under 3 megabytes, which is a load of photos and everything else on it, then you should be fine in terms of SEO. I would say, again, a bit of a mantra here, Lightroom and using YouTube tutorials.
Cool, perfect. Okay, I think we'll just end with, if you guys could give one bit of advice to influencers from the brand side and from the influencer side, and then we'll wrap it up. Barry, one bit.
Be consistent and be reliable.
Perfect.
That's good advice.
Yeah, you can't give the same one though.
I would say, like, this whole talk was about diversity, so I guess look at other ways that you can diversify your brand. I'd say also just make friends. As I said, if you are a new beginner influencer, make friends who are exactly at your same level and talk about how ways you can amplify each other's content and promote each other.
Cool. And if you're at World Travel Market, then you've already started that because I'm sure you're meeting loads of people. Cool. Just before we wrap up, just say that we are, all these talks are recorded and put on YouTube. We will be emailing everyone who's come here with the links to what they can see and also that they can share. We're also going to try and host as many of the slides on our website as we can, but we do have to ask for permission from people for that, so that will take a short while. We'll get an email out to everyone. That's from all of our sessions that we've done, so you can watch over those and find out the tips or just have a look at the slideshows that have gone up. We'd love to see some more of you guys at Traverse stuff that we're doing. We, at Traverse, are doing a massive conference in Rotterdam next year. It's our flagship event. It's going to be around 500 people there. Loads of great brands, loads of amazing influencers, hopefully Maka and Barry both included. So we hope to see some of you there. Come and ask us if you want any information about that. Also, you can check us out on traverse-events.com, which has all the events we do, and traverse-connect.com. Which has all of our outreach, marketing, case studies, information on who we've worked with, who we're working with, what projects we're doing, or you can just ask me, Michael at traverse-events.com or info@traverse-events.com, and we're always more than happy to answer. So a massive thank you to Maka and to Barry for coming along, and to South Africa for sponsoring these sessions today. Thanks very much.